Okay, here's another hopefully quick video of some studio upgrades. Two things in particular, at least for right now. There'll actually be a third that I may or may not throw onto the end of this video. I don't know, it might even be worthy of its own video. But the one thing that I've got going on here are VGA cables that are stretched way beyond what they should be. Let's go into this monitor up here. If I pull that cable out of this monitor, it is going to go ping and go straight to the back of the rack. I've got it stretched out pretty far, and if that one looks pretty bad, this one is even worse over here. Oh man, that's really bad. So what I did is I actually went ahead and bought some VGA couplers, or I guess gender changers, whatever. So I bought those, and I'm going to go and get some more VGA cables, and I'm going to just attach those. If the signal quality is lower, I don't really care. But the other one is this. Now, I'm not replacing the microphone because I'm displeased with it. This is a Shure SM58. Some people don't happen to like these. I think it's a pretty decent microphone for the money. You can get better, but it's a pretty decent microphone. The one problem that I've got with it, though, is that you have to practically shove your face straight into it in order to actually be heard. It's not very sensitive. And I don't know if the replacement that I've got here is any better. But really the real reason for my doing this is because every once in a while, and I've had a few of them in here, it doesn't really look like much, I have a studio guest, and it'd be really nice if I could have a second microphone sitting around for them to use. So that's what this SM58 is going to be, because I'm going to at least try, at least for a little while, I'll try this thing out, and I'll see what I think of it. I might end up putting the SM58 back, I don't know. But, so now I should have two microphones, and that should be that. So let's get started with this. I guess we'll check this out first. The PGA48 vocal microphone, which this thing will not focus on, of course not. Oh, I hate cell phones. Cardioid dynamic vocal microphone with an XLR cable. I think it was like an extra $5 to get it with a cable, and you could either get it with a XLR to quarter inch or an XLR to XLR. Might as well just get the XLR cable. Why not? So you can see there's a sticker on the side. But the one thing that really kind of gets me about this is what's on the other side. I happen to notice this. If it'll focus on it, which it probably won't because this thing sucks, you can see, warning, cancer and reproductive harm. Proposition 65 warnings. Is this a joke? We're talking about a microphone here. So I'm going to take a page out of Max Arcade's book and invoke Proposition 69 and say that, warning, this shiny sticker may contain uncountable amounts of bullshit. Anyway, you can go in and have a look here at the specs. Comes with all kinds of stuff. Of course, it's going wildly out of focus because this thing sucks. So this should be, at least in theory, easy enough to open. I don't have to actually stop the recording. And let's take a look here. What do we have? Safety instructions. Limited warranty. There, of course, is the Shure sticker. I got one of those at the SM58. It's actually sitting right there. And here we go. Here's the microphone. That thing is bigger than I expected it to be. Oh, okay. And, of course, the pouch, and then there's the cable in the bottom. So I'm going to get this mess out of the way, and we'll go ahead and deal with this. So here's your SM58 right here. Pretty nondescript microphone. Not much to it. This is the PGA48. It's quite a bit heavier, actually. Like, quite a bit heavier. I was kind of surprised by that. It's got a switch on it as well, although I won't be using that. So, we'll see how this performs. The other thing, too, is that I was going to use the included XLR cable because it's shorter, so I could use my longer cable, which I've got for the guest mic, but this is a really cheap XLR cable, so I'm going to save that for guest purposes. I'll put that in with the SM58 box. And there it is. Probably can't even tell that there's any difference at all. In retrospect, I probably should have bought a proper pop filter for it, so I didn't have to use this. But this is kind of a running joke, so I thought I'd just leave it alone. That's kind of funny. I think this is actually a little bit too heavy for this microphone stand, to be honest with you. But I guess we'll see. Now that alone really wouldn't be worth making a whole video about, because it's really not all that interesting. So, it came in some very interesting packaging today. I'm not sure why they used a light bulb box, but they did. And so here is the other upgrade that we will be installing once I get the studio rack situation figured out, for reasons I will talk about in a second. This is an HP TouchSmart Model 320 PC. The exact model, I don't know. I actually haven't looked at it yet. Does it say 320, 1030? Come on, focus. Freaking cell phone, what the hell? Anyway, so there's all the information. You can see the ports. It does take an external power brick. And you can see it's got line out. Looks like 4 USB ports and Ethernet. It's actually, interestingly enough, got Wi-Fi on the back. There's a little thing here for it, which you can't see. And that might work a little better. You can see it now. Anyway, there's a sticker over there. I'm not sure. I'm starting to wonder if this uses a laptop-style hard drive. I hope not. Of course, I actually don't even know how you'd get it apart. It looks like it's probably held together mostly with clips. That's really annoying because I wanted to replace the hard drive. Because it's got a 640 gigabyte drive in it, and it really doesn't need that. And I'd also like to keep the Windows install that's on it, just in case reinstalling Windows doesn't go as well as planned. But it's got an A4 APU in it. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm really not the biggest fan of AMD APUs. 4 gigs of RAM. And we'll fire it up here. You can see the ugly guy operating the camera. So let's see here. Turn off the flash. System information. So I'm going to set up here and figure this out. And you can see it's a Western Digital, so it's probably a good drive. There we go, HCI. This has a UEFI on it. Don't know how I feel about that. Shouldn't be anything else that I need to worry about. Usually set that up like that. Again, that should be it. So again, you can see the doofus that's operating this camera, or this cell phone, which is masquerading as a camera, and there's Windows 10, which I hate a lot. But I might just leave it alone. As long as I can verify that there's no malware on this, it's not going to spray my network with something like zero access or whatever, although I don't think that's how zero access works. So there it is. It's a relatively bog standard installation, probably pretty fresh. Touchscreen works. I think pretty much everything works. Of course, because it's, you know, modern Windows, you gotta do everything the old-fashioned way. Listen to that hard drive thrash. there you can see everything that needs to be figured out. That was one other thing that I was kind of interested in, is whether or not Windows would activate on this. Oops. So, IDT audio chipset does actually have a webcam, which is interesting. 1 megapixel apparently is high definition these days. Well, sure, whatever, I guess. Radeon 6410 level graphics. Come on. It does actually have wireless, which is pretty neat. It's dual core APU. Come on. Apparently, I might need to see if there's a way to calibrate this. Although it's not actually too bad. It's better than the Advantech one that's already inside. I'm going to see if I can find some disassembly instructions on this, and see if I can replace that hard drive. If not, I guess I'm just going to leave it with Windows 10, even though I'd rather not. Okay, so I've made the decision, based on how difficult it looks like it would be to get this thing apart, that I'm not going to bother changing the hard drive, and I'm also not going to bother reinstalling Windows, because the effort level, to me, really just isn't worth the end result. I'd rather just leave Windows 10 on there, even though I hate Windows 10 with a passion. You can make it usable by installing some things, and so that's what I'm going to do. It doesn't even look like I cleaned it, even though I did. Look, there's still, maybe this is just wear marks. Anyway, so the one thing that I was going to mention that I almost forgot about was the power supply, which is right here. This is a 150 watt HP power supply. Probably no different than your standard HP laptop power supply. If you want to have a look at that connection there, you probably could have just used one of those. Oh, I did find the license key. The license key's on the bottom. It's a Windows 7 Home Premium license. But it uses a Mickey Mouse style power cord, which you might be able to tell from this. Just the way that it looks. But this is what they gave me to use. It's just a standard IEC power cord, which is not going to work. So I guess I've now got to go and find another Mickey Mouse power cord, because that was my extra one, my only extra one. So that's kind of annoying. Okay, so here it is. It's on my little private network, so it can't spray anything else with malware, just in case. Running Malwarebytes on it, just to make sure that there's nothing here. I don't think there is. This looks like a relatively benign and clean Windows installation. Probably fresh. Installed before it was sent out the door. But we got another problem. Come over here. The existing machine is, it's 15 inches, and it barely fits here. And so the new one, which is 20 inches, I mean, it is widescreen, but still, it's about 17, maybe 17 and a half inches tall, won't fit here. So I'm going to have to take all this stuff off this top shelf, and take off the top shelf and readjust it. So that is rather entertaining. And it also means that I'm going to have to pull off the lights. I didn't even realize that until just right now, so that's... Well, might as well do it anyway. Alright, well that looks a little different. I didn't measure anything, I just moved it up to, there's... You can see on this thing how there's, can you see it? Yeah, right there. How there's some that look like this. I just moved it up to the next one, because I figure, you know what, I'll give myself plenty of headroom now, so I don't have to worry about, you know, not having enough space to put that thing in here where it needs to go. So now I gotta get this existing one out, and probably all this other stuff out, because I'm not gonna be using that existing hard drive. Since I have the 640, I'm gonna transfer all of the music onto the 640, so that way I don't have to have this drive, because, I mean, it's faster to just use the internal drive, and it gets one more heat-producing thing out of this studio, so There you go. And that's a Seagate drive, so that thing produces a lot of heat. Okay, ceremonial final shutdown. I hope that hard drive... I can close this. This is X11. I'm going to actually check that and see if it's... make sure that it's NTFS or FAT32 or whatever it needs to be. It's not X4 or something equally as irritating. NTFS. Okay, that's good. Close that. And we can shut this thing off. I've left it running because it's really just become increasingly unreliable. And, you know, it takes multiple tries to get it to actually boot. And I got kind of tired of that, so... well, there's a situation that we're in. So it's shut down. Now I can start removing stuff. Okay, so it's been a little bit, and I finally managed to work up enough enthusiasm to get this thing into the rack. After moving the top shelf. I don't know if I showed that already, but that is something that I did. Wasn't really too difficult. I moved it up a little bit more than I had to. Well, actually, probably more than a little bit, but, in theory, actually, I probably didn't even have to move it at all, but it'll be easier to get out now. As you can see, it's about the same height as this monitor that's sitting over here. So, whatever. Be easier to get out of here now, at least. Gives me some room to work. Now I'm transferring all the data onto, or from my music hard drive, which is up here. At least temporarily, while I do this transfer, I'm transferring it onto the main hard drive. And that is going to take forever. But at the very least, I've got the audio working. It's a brief little test. It's passing through. And yes, I know it does kind of look like it's off in terms of balance. I went into Audacity and generated a tone, and it's not. It's just this file. Probably shouldn't play too much of, because I'm sure there'll be some lowlife that'll sample that for their song and then put content ID matches all over everything, so it's a start. We'll see how long it takes for me to actually get this working.